Hey guys, in this video I just wanted to show you how to use index laws 1 and 2. Now there are other index laws that I'll cover in some other videos, but I thought that I'd just cover these in smaller bites. Now index law 1 is this guy here, and basically what the index law says is that if I've got two numbers that are multiplying together and they have indices, and the indexes are m and n, if I'm multiplying them and they have the same base, which they do, they both have an a, if I multiply them together, what I can do is I have the same base a, and I can just add these two indexes together. So a to the m times a to the n is equal to a m plus n. So that's index law number 1. Index law number 2 is a division between two numbers that also have the same base. So if I have two numbers and I'm dividing them, they have the same base, first thing that you probably want to do is write it as a fractional form. I find that easy to see. But what you do is you subtract the indexes, so you subtract the bottom index from the top one. So we get a to the power of m minus n. Now when you're doing these questions, what you just need to make sure you do is that you simplify, especially with this index law, where more often than not you're going to end up with fractions. So, do a couple of examples of these. The first one, we've got 7 squared times 7 to the power of 4. They have the same base. It's not a letter this time, it's a number, but it's still the same. We've got 7 and 7, so I can just add my powers. So that's going to be equal to 7 to the power of 2 plus 4, which is 6. And that's it. If you wanted to, you could put that into your calculator to get a numerical answer. Let's move on though. Question 2. Sometimes you're going to end up having more than one multiplication. So what I normally do is I just deal with the first two first. So they've all got the same base, so I can use index law 1. So I'm going to end up with an x to the base, and if I do 5 plus 3, that's 8, and I've still got this multiplied by x squared at the back. And then all I'll just do is use the index law again. So x to the power of 8 times x squared, you're going to have an x. 8 plus 2 is 10. Now if you wanted to and you realize that these all have the same bases, you can actually skip straight from this step to this step by adding them all at once. So 5 plus 3 is 8, plus 2 is 10 as well. So if you want to save yourself a little bit of time, that works also. Alright, next one. Sometimes you're going to have coefficients, so you're going to have these numbers out the front. And I usually try to deal with the numbers and the signs first before I start combining my variables. So first of all, I've got positive 2 times positive 4 is going to give me 8. And now I've got this x here, but you can't see the power here. Now if there's no power written here, you've just got to remember that that power is the same as the power of 1, because you've just got 1x. So when I join the x's together, I'm still going to have a base of x, and it's going to be 1 plus 5 because it's multiplication, so it's going to be 8x to the power of 6. Now sometimes you're going to have more than one variable, and you might also have some negative numbers as well. So I'm going to deal with the negative first. So it's going to be a negative 3 multiplied by positive 2 gives me a negative number. 3 times 2 is 6. And I've dealt with those coefficients. Now my index law, I can only join the ones together. I can only add powers for ones that have the same variable. So I can add the powers of this x squared and x to the 4, which gives me x to the 6. And for my y's, it's going to be y to the 4 plus y squared, which is also 6 as well. So we'll do some division ones too. So the first thing that you normally want to do is probably write it as a fraction. So I can rewrite that as 10 to the 6 divided by 10 to the 5. So our base is the same, and it's a division, so we're going to use index law 6, which says that we subtract the power of the bottom one from the power of the top. So that's going to leave us with 10 as our base. And 6 minus 5 is just 1, which is just equal to 10 to the power of 1 is just 10. Alright, we'll do on with variables. So we've got q to the 12 over q squared. So the base, it's the same, so I can use my index law, so I'm left with a q. 12 take away 2 is 10, so my answer is just q to the power of 10. They will start to get a little bit trickier, where we will have fractions, and you can have more than one letter. And it's the same as with the multiplication. You can only add or subtract ones that have the same base. Also, when you have numbers out the front, I normally try to deal with them first. just so I don't forget at the end. So you just simplify the numbers or the coefficients just like a normal fraction. So you think of a number, what goes into 8 and 6? Well, 2 goes into both, so 8 divided by 2 is 4. And on the bottom, I'm going to have 6 divided by 2 is 3. And then what I do is I'll deal with the variables and the indexes. So 5 take away 4 for the m's is just 1, so I'm going to have just m to the power of 1 on the top, n to the power of 4 over n to the 3, so 4 take 3 is 1 as well, so I've got n to the 1 on top. Now you've got the power of 1s here, you don't actually need to write them, so I'm just going to rewrite it as 4mn divided by 3. Alright, one that's a little bit tougher. So for this guy here, normally what I want to do is deal with the numbers first. So you think of a number, what goes into 6 and 14? So the number 2 goes into both, so 6 divided by 2 is 3, 14 divided by 2 is 7. Nothing else goes into those numbers, so that's as simplified as it can get. Then I'll deal with my letters. So I've got s's, so I'm going to subtract 5 from 6, so that leaves me with s to the power of 1 on top. And remember, if there's no index, it's just the power of 1, so this guy's the same as t to the power of 1. So it's t cubed divided by t to the 1, so 3 take 1 is 2, so you're left with t squared. And again, if you want to rewrite it without that 1, then you're just going to be left with 3 st squared divided by 7. Now sometimes you're going to mix both of these rules together. So on the top we've got a multiplication, so we can actually use index law 1 to try and clean this up a little bit first, and then we'll deal with this at the end. So for the top, deal with the numbers first. 3 times 8 gives you 24. F squared times f to the 7. Index law 1, you need to add the powers, so it's f to the power of 9. And on the bottom, I'm going to have 4 f to the 3. And then what we're going to do is use index law 2 to simplify this. So I'm going to deal with the numbers first. You think of some numbers that go into both. Maybe you realize that 4 goes into 24 6 times, 4 and once. So if I do the numbers first, it's going to be 6 on top of 1. And for my variables, it's f to the power of 9, and we've got f3, so you've got to take these away. So it's going to be f to the 6. Now 6f to the 6 divided by 1 is just going to leave me with 6f to the 6, and you're done. Alright, thanks for watching. Catch you next time.